Hello everyone, welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana and today we're here with Janet Curcio Wilson of Inspired Learning Coaching. How's it going?
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself and then we'll roll into the business.
Okay. Well, I've been an educator for over 40 years and retained my certifications with the state of New Hampshire in special education, so that I could open a business as a special education advocate. So I go into the schools and I work with advocating for what I call differently abled learners. And the reason I make a point of that is because the field of special education, I think, needs a little bit of a shift in perspective to begin to understand and respect and really celebrate diversity of individuals. That there's a lot that these folks who come into the world with attention deficit disorder or a learning disability or an intellectual challenge, all of the types of things that fall under special education are following a medical model in the terminology. We are disabled. These are, kids who are handicapped, which is a term many people don't know came from individuals standing in Manhattan with their cap in their hand, because prior to the laws that we have, the federal laws that protect people who are differently abled, they were poor. They were unable to get work, and so they were begging with their cap in their hand on the streets of Manhattan. And that's where the term came from. So we don't even realize it's been a very negative spin from the medical community. And I think there are plenty of really talented medical practitioners who also understand that there's a whole lot more. There's that we need to understand as professionals who work with individuals who are differently abled. And let's put a positive spin on that.
All right, cool. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the business.
Okay. Well, I was a special education teacher and administrator for 40 years.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, Act One.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the boomers are doing an Act Two kind of career.
Yeah.
So there I am, right at the tail end of the boomers. And this is, everything that I learned in those first 40 years of how not to manage and work with individuals who are differently abled. I brought into my business, basically flipped it. Let's provide these services. Let's do something that actually does work. And so there are 3 services in Inspired Learning. One of them is educational advocacy, where I go into the school system and advocate for the student from kindergarten through college. So there are plenty of kids, they do grow up. And a lot of people don't realize it. They think I just deal with kids, but I provide advocacy work for any adult who's in college who had an IEP and is now on like a 504 plan.
Okay.
In other words, they're getting accommodations at the college level, or sometimes not getting accommodations, and they should be.
Yeah.
And so I'm there to help advocate for their needs at the level of the college. And then the second service that I offer is brain retraining, based on neuroplasticity studies and research from Tufts University School of Medicine. I provide a games-based brain rewiring platform where a child will be able to go into the computer and use themselves as the mouse. So they're wearing an armband, and it's reading the EEG patterns of their brain. It's measuring their ability to focus, and nothing on that screen is going to move unless that kid is at least achieving 70% focus. It'll still graph the focus, for me if I need it. But it also has built-in rewards for the student to keep them engaged And again, this can go all the way through adulthood because it's suitable to individuals who have traumatic brain injury from a car accident or traumatic brain injury is inherited. Acquired brain injury, like from a car accident, or any other sport, like concussion problems that football players often get. And it'll help rewire those neurons that have been damaged, help them to begin to exercise that part of their brain that needs to start building brain capacity. And then the third area is Mindfulness Plus. And sometimes I'll kind of meld these together, but Mindfulness Plus is an EEG headset program that gives immediate feedback to people who say they can't calm the wild monkey of their mind. There's no way you cannot teach me meditation. That is not happening. I am too busy. I'm type AAA personality. I hear it all the time. And the beauty of this is the headset that I use plugs into your smartphone, and I train people on how to use it. So like if they're listening to a rainforest, if their mind is busy, crazy when they start, like they say, which, they're right, they live with themselves, they know, it's pouring rain in the rainforest. They're hearing it in audio, the sounds of the rainforest. And as they begin to control their breathing, pace their breathing, the rain begins to calm. And if they do really well, where they achieve an alpha state, where the brain waves are much smoother, they'll hear birds. And they get rewarded with aviary awards, things that keep them going. And at the end, they can see a graph of where their brain waves fell in this bands of 3 colors to show them, well, you know what, there was a moment in the 5 minutes or 7 minutes that you just went through where you went up into the highest level. Your brain maybe started thinking about, what am I going to have for dinner? Or, you stopped focusing on your breath. And so you had a moment where, you almost heard the lightning again and the rain getting really intense, and you pulled yourself back down. You noticed it. That's so powerful. Those are recovery points that you get for that. And it'll say you had 10 recovery points, which is wonderful because that's what I want to see. I want people to be able to go, okay, I know the difference now. I actually can feel the difference when I'm going buzzy and I'm jumping around and things, and when I bring myself back down. And then I brought another one with me that is actually the one I was messing around with. It's an ear clip from Heart Math.
Yeah.
And this plugs into your phone, and it gives you a graphic, a mandala on the screen, and you breathe with the mandala as it goes out. You breathe in and, out like that. And around the edges, it has colors, red, blue, and green. And it'll show you when your pulse is across the top. And if you start seeing a jagged pulse and a red dot, you're just not centered. You're not heart and brain centered. This measures heart-brain coherence. So it's trying to train you. It's a little more sophisticated. I usually move progressively through these with a client.
Yeah.
It's a little more sophisticated because it's measuring both of those things. So, but it's also incredibly powerful feedback. I'll sometimes combine this one with the computer-based attention game to allow a child they can actually look at this screen and listen for the truck moving on the game. And they'll notice when they're calmer and they're breathing, the truck will move. So it has to do with the same thing that Heart Math is measuring.
Yeah.
Play Attention, which is the name of the game they're playing, will also monitor the very same thing. So it comes down to we're just much more effective when we're in a calm state of mind.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 services, and it's a broad range of people. I've got several doctors in the area that refer people to me, which I'm really excited about because it's nice. It's like, a kid will come in and go, I got to go see my doctor or whatever, and I'll say, oh, well, tell her I said hello. And, you know my doctor? Yeah, I know your doctor. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's becoming more holistic, that doctors are starting. It's actually naturopathic doctors who are referring to me. It's
Yeah.
the doctors who understand the whole person kind of thing. And there's a few MDs who are trained in a wellness format who also refer.
Yeah.
So
Very
that's
cool.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually a really interesting area from what we've talked about so far. So you went from teaching,
Yeah.
I guess teaching,
Yeah.
over to this, which seems a little more in depth. And so what made that jump other than, retiring, getting ready to do something else, kind of change your life up a little bit?
Yep.
Why this field? Because there's a ton of other fields you could have gone into,
Yeah,
but this
that's
one,
true.
this is very specific, and especially with some of the technologies and techniques you're talking about, it's a little more advanced stuff than what most people are getting into.
Right.
So what kind of
Brought
focused
me
that?
there.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it this way, if you brought your car to a mechanic and they never took a course on the engine, I don't think you'd feel real comfortable taking your car to that mechanic. You don't know anything about an engine. Are you kidding me? Or learned about. I shouldn't say take a course. I mean, he could have learned it hands-on, learned about. Up until just, I want to say in the last 10 years, that was true of all educators. There wasn't one brain course that we took, not one.
Yeah.
So here we are educating. We call ourselves educators, but we know nothing about memory. We know nothing about how you learn, how your brain processes information, where it's stored, none of it. And with the onset of the beginning of those neuroplasticity studies, which basically said that we used to have an attitude that as you aged, your brain was fixed, and we believed, for years, that there was no way you were gonna, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
Right? That was our adage. And it supposedly applied to the human being, that you just couldn't expect to learn anything. Your brain wasn't capable. You're much more stubborn and fixed in your ways. We're now finding out that that is simply a choice. That is not true. That the brain is capable of learning all the way through gerontivity, which is, geriatric age.
Yeah.
So it was a natural transition from teaching to when I began studying the brain toward, the end of my career, and really looking into what's going on here. I had been for a very long time, I've always had an interest in spirituality, and I studied all kinds of things around that. And I knew of John Kabat-Zinn. He's the founder of mindfulness. He's the one who first coined the phrase mindfulness. And Thich Nhat Hanh and Ram Dass. I studied with Ram Dass. So I've always had that. That was more a hobby. It wasn't like a career kind of thing. I kind of made my hobby my career.
Yeah.
Which is good. I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it,
Okay. So you're talking about, we work with people who are differently abled from when they're younger to generally college age. How or when would someone know that they need to reach out to you to look at your services, to talk to you?
Well, individuals who are struggling to learn, whatever age they are. They may be an older learner, that because you think college age and you think in your 20s, but there are plenty of people who go back to school and get themselves a different degree. So it doesn't have an age limit. It's 3 to 103.
Yeah.
So I would say if they've had a concussion, traumatic brain injury, or they've been living with ADD, ADHD. One of the things I didn't mention is that the system I use is aimed at achieving permanent rewiring of the brain. It's absolutely historic, and that's the study that's backed by Tufts University School of Medicine research. Yeah. So they would reach out to me if they are filled with anxiety, struggling to, or have a child who just can't seem to manage their emotions. Those are really excellent clients for me. And as an aside, one of my trainings is hypnotism. So I integrate that as well.
Yeah.
So if they're looking to quit smoking, weight loss, relationships. I can certainly use the mindfulness training and teach them self-hypnosis to overcome a specific problem.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it. So generally, anyone, any age, yeah, because the college thing definitely, like, you have to expand on that a little bit. But yeah, so pretty much anyone, any age, if they've had head injuries, any of that type of stuff, learning problems, cool. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So people that want to learn a little more, maybe reach out, talk to you about some services. How do they get a hold of you?
Well, I'm in Amherst right now. The office is at 5 Northern Boulevard, right off of 101A. And my telephone number is 603-703-4545. And I offer a 1-hour free consult to see if what you're thinking you need is a service I offer, and how do we meld? Is this a good fit?
Yeah.
So I like people to make that choice for themselves.
Okay. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been fun.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. That's going to be it, and everyone have a great day.